The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, let's do this Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. A lot of Reds, a lot of Bengals. We got Trey Wingo joining us coming up here in about an hour. We got a loaded show for you here this morning. Gentlemen, good morning. How are we doing today?
Good morning.
You seem a little bit more awake right now. It was a little,
I'm all right.
little touch and go.
We're getting there.
when you came in today.
Yeah, I'm a little tired. I don't know why. I was tired yesterday, so I went to bed early last night. But
You hung over? Are you hung over, dude?
No, that's just you. That's just you. But, yeah. No, it's when I have work early in the morning, I usually drink the night before. But whatever floats your boat, you know? So, yeah, I mean, I went to bed early last night to try to get some more rest, and apparently 10 hours of sleep makes you more tired.
So that's what I found. There's no good amount of hours of sleep.
No.
If you have to work the next morning. Usually it's just you go to bed and then you wake up, if like on a Saturday, and then it's like, oh, I feel fine.
100%.
And then, but you wake up, like you could go to bed at 4 p.m. today, wake up tomorrow at 8 a.m., and it's just like, it doesn't feel the same.
Yeah, brutal.
Well, guys, the thing is, I woke up this morning, I was tired, and I was just a little exhausted, but I'm like, oh, F it, got to get better today. I got to go and do my job. So, you know, that's what I'm here for. You know, I mean, was that motivational? Does that make you want to run through a brick wall? Because maybe I just didn't say it right. Maybe it just depends on who's saying it.
I think
it's corny when I say it, but it's cool when somebody else says it.
It's all about the delivery, and I don't know that you quite have it yet.
I didn't
maybe
deliver
one day.
that
Maybe
very
one
well.
day.
You know, but Casey, good morning. How are you, sir?
Good morning. I'm doing great. Doing fantastic. I'm ready for another day here at Chatterbox.
Dragon hat.
Yeah, I had to showcase it. I know I grabbed it Tuesday or Monday, actually. I'm sorry. And I didn't showcase it because we had an FC game. We'll get into that later. But
Will we?
We will.
I'm just looking at this rundown. I don't really see it anywhere unless it's in Elliot's headlines.
We'll talk about it.
They're
talk
always in the
about it.
headlines
We'll
when it goes
unfortunately
well.
have to talk about it because it was a doozy. It was a horrible game. But yeah, I just thought I'd showcase it. My House of the Dragons hat. Yeah.
It is a nice quality hat. You never know sometimes with the free giveaways if they're going to be a little cheap, but no, it's a nice hat.
Yeah, I really like it. I really enjoy it.
Well, all right, let's dive into it. The Cincinnati Reds, they've won 3 straight, and now it's time to do that little game that we do, right? Like, are they back? Are we back? Are the Cincinnati Reds back? Look, bottom line is I don't really know what to make of this little run that the Cincinnati Reds are on. I think the one thing I said a while back, I think it was last week, we did the buy or sell on the Cincinnati Reds, cutting the deficit to within 2 games of the wild card by the end of the month. And right now sitting at 4.5 back. I know they've won 3 straight, whatever. But the bottom line is the reason I bought into it, I think I was the only one to buy into it in the room, was not so much me having just this all-out big-time belief in the Cincinnati Reds. It was looking at what's around them as well. I think that right now you have a lot of average teams who are fighting for this final wild card spot. Now, some of these average teams might be better than some of the other average teams. And in Cincinnati, they obviously have their deficiencies, no doubt about it. Their inconsistencies being one of those. I did like the fact that they hit, Sonny Gray hard in game 1. And then, of course, to follow that up with having Hunter Greene on the mound last night, I did like the Reds' chances of taking the series. But taking the series isn't going to really move the needle a whole lot. I think the sweep is obviously going to be the big key coming up here later on tonight. But the reason I bought into the Reds' ability to be able to close the gap to at least within 2 games heading into the final month of September was because of the inconsistencies, not of the Reds, but the rest of the teams around them. And you look at the rest of the teams around them right now, I mean, the fact that, again, the NL Central just falling apart a little bit. The Cardinals have lost 3 straight. The Pirates have lost 9. The Cubs, after rolling for a bit, they've lost back-to-back games. So the Reds sitting atop the Pirates, sitting atop the Cubs. I don't care about the NL Central standings. I know some people are excited about, oh, my God, they're in 3rd now. Great. You're not winning the division even if you move all the way up to 2nd.
All Casey's ever wanted is to be 2nd place in the National League Central. Nothing else matters. Wild card doesn't matter. Playoffs don't matter. It's all about 2nd place in the NL Central, right, Casey?
That's right, because we definitely care about winning here in Cincinnati.
We do. I mean, there's room for banners, second place banners. We can drop some banners in this studio if they're able to pull off the unthinkable and getting all the way to second place.
We could steal that bit and just start printing our own banners.
Yeah, you know what? I think we might.
I think we should.
We'll hang them right here.
Yeah.
We'll right above our heads, and we'll see how many we can collect.
That's right.
Like if we had a banner for times our starting pitcher pukes during games.
We 5
championship. Yeah,
4 or 5.
We'd be in a dynasty. 5, I think 5.
One of those national baseball accounts, no free ads, tweeted last night the video of Hunter Greene throwing up into his glove and said, "For the second time this year, Hunter Greene puked on the mound." I said, oh no.
The second, huh?
No.
It's been an ongoing issue.
I think it's every good start.
Are we gonna
And
like?
one bad one.
Is anyone
Yeah,
gonna question it? Is anyone gonna question it? Like actually question, not just be like, "Hey man, you all right?" Like it's not normal.
No,
There's
dude,
not
our pitching staff doesn't. Our pitching staff doesn't question it. He puked 3 times in a row through 2 wild pitches.
I'm hungover every day and don't puke. This guy pukes like what? I mean,
Well, Derek Johnson
It's
just never came out to
overhydration.
check on him. It was overhydration.
For the last 5
He's
games.
too prepared.
aren't we all?
So my
Aren't we
thing
all
is,
just too prepared?
I'll be worried about it when he stops being the best pitcher in baseball.
Yeah.
So if he starts puking and being bad, then I'll worry about it. But if he's gonna go 7 innings of 1-run baseball, he can do whatever he wants.
Well, then
right.
he'll
In
tell
between
you.
pitches.
He'll tell you why it's happening. Like, oh, I overhydrate. Well, try not overhydrating before a game. But again,
Well,
to your
the
point,
second
if it's
time-
not
yeah.
interrupting anything, if it's not slowing him down, then I guess just keep
Yeah, the
puking.
second time he said he drank nothing beforehand. So
Yeah.
just kind of it's
And
his little quirk.
he did throw like 2 terrible pitches after the pukes. So.
Oh yeah.
You know, you just
Well,
gotta
the
get
walk,
the
also
jitters.
you
the
gotta-
walk was a strikeout.
You have to question the sanitation of the glove. If there's a routine ground ball hit back to him, then he throws the ball over to first base. You could be spreading that puke everywhere.
I was thinking if you puke into your glove early enough in the game, you could probably get some spider tack on that thing because the umps don't want to check it.
You're right.
The umps aren't going to want to check that
nobody wants
glove.
to check puke.
So if you puke in like the first or second inning, you could probably get 5 innings of sticky stuff.
That's actually your best point that you've ever made.
And like,
Wait,
because
is that-
hey, you want to
hold
check the
on.
glove? No.
Wait, what?
Did I just expose Hunter Greene?
Yeah, he did.
We got juicers.
Dang.
We got pukers.
No, I don't think Hunter Greene's cheating. I think he's just
No,
really.
absolutely.
I just think he's really good at baseball, and it's fun to watch.
I like Rogers.
When-
The Puke and Rally Reds. That's the moniker of this team. The Puke and Rally Reds. As far as that's concerned.
When your worst start in the last 7 starts or in the last month and a half of baseball is your All-Star game appearance, I think you're a pretty good pitcher.
Yeah.
So Hunter Greene's been incredible. He's been, I think, one of 2 absolutely shining bright spots this season. Him and Ellie De La Cruz. It's been a disappointing year. There's been no doubts about that. But I think Hunter Greene, what he's been able to do this season after last year, all the questions with the contract. Why are you extending him so early? You know, when you sign a guy for 6 years, $50 million. You shouldn't really complain about it because that's the market of starting pitchers. It's a lot more than that. So you got a discount deal on a guy that's in 3rd place in the Cy Young race. And I think, and Jacob and I were talking about it a little bit before the show, if he's able to continue this pace the rest of the season, he will be in the mix. It takes a couple bad starts from my guy Zach Wheeler and Chris Sale, or an injury. I don't wish injuries on anybody. But it takes a couple of missed games or bad games out of those guys, and Hunter Greene's right back in. He's got a 2.8 ERA. So he's been absolutely incredible.
Yeah, Nick Kirby made a great point last night on Chatterbox Reds. He said the Reds actually have 2 players, one on both sides of the ball, that you want to see in the playoffs. You want to see in the World Series. You want to see in those big-time games, and not just for Reds fans, but for baseball fans everywhere. I mean, you watch Hunter Greene, the amount of times I get texts from friends anywhere around the country that are just baseball fans that watch Hunter Greene or Ellie De La Cruz do something crazy, do something that, really no one else in baseball does. It's crazy. It's really cool. And those are guys that can actually, get you excited about a playoff run. If this Reds team can get lucky and sneak into the playoffs, I'm real confident for at least one of the games in the series with Hunter Greene pitching. So it's been really nice to have him take a big step this year. My expectations for Ellie were pretty high coming into the season. I don't know if it was this high, but my expectations were pretty high. I think Hunter Greene is my biggest takeaway from this Red season. The thing I'm happiest about is really having a guy stake claim to that ace role, and he's done that. And I don't think there's any question about who's starting opening day next year.
Yep.
when you look at some of the highest paid pitchers around baseball, and you got Garrett Cole getting 36, and you got DeGrom at 40, Verlander at 43, Scherzer at 43, and Shohei doesn't count, but that dumb contract. But the production compared to the value is just insane. It's just absolutely insane, and that's why that contract was so good for the Reds when they got him in that 6-year, $53 million deal. They're getting the production of all those other dominant names we just threw out there for a fraction of the cost. I mean, we're getting $8 million a year for the next 6 years. It is just insane, and that's why when that contract did come out, it was a nice gamble by the Reds, because let's just say he wasn't this. But he was just to have a very good starter for $8 million a year. Let's just say he was just very good. He was just a good starter, a good, dependable weapon in the rotation. Great, $8 million a year. That's a hell of a deal for that as well. But now you're getting this max value as far as that's concerned. I think that's pretty cool. But you're right. You said they were talking about on Chatterbox Reds. I mean, the fact that when you get to the playoffs, when you have a marquee pitcher like Hunter Greene, and then of course you have the face of the franchise now with Ellie De La Cruz on out on the defense and in the lineup and everything, it's just insane. The two pieces that they've been able to build over the years.
There's another player on the Reds who's at the absolute top of his position group that I feel like doesn't get talked about as much this year as last year, and that's Alexis Diaz.
Yeah.
Whether you like it or not, however you feel when he steps on the mound, in his last 15 games, he has a 1.8 ERA. He's converted 17 saves in a row. There's not much better than that in baseball.
No.
Closer's an incredibly fickle role. We've seen a lot of guys already this year that are, household names be either sent down to AAA to work on, their stuff, or be moved out of the closer role, pitch earlier in games in lower leverage situations. Diaz, even when he has struggled, he's converted the saves this year.
Yep.
He's been unbelievable. He's been absolutely nails every time he comes out of the bullpen. And I think I'm more confident in him now than I was on opening day going into this season. He's been unbelievable. He's been so good, and it's really, really cool to have a true closer, a guy that when he comes in the ninth inning, you're going to win the game.
He's 4th in the NL in saves. He's 7th in Major League Baseball in saves. There was some doubts there towards the middle, and there's still a part of me that doesn't fully trust Alexis Diaz, and it's just because of the walk issue he's had this year. And it has been an ongoing issue, even though he closed it out last night. He did walk a guy, It does seem that there is a base runner on base every single time Alexis Diaz pitches, and maybe I shouldn't write too much into that, but I have. His whip has certainly gone way up from last season. His walks have gone way up. So there are parts of me that still are concerned, but at the end of the day, if all that matters are wins and losses, all that matters is you coming in and saving the game. And Alexis Diaz has done his job, as Jacob just mentioned, 17 straight times.
Yeah, with him, he's the epitome of, when they say it's not what you say, it's how you say it. Well, with him, it's not what you do, it's how you did it. Yes, everyone, he's the saves and everything else. It's just he makes everyone completely nervous when he's out there. But you're right, it's a results-based business, and he's getting the results. No doubt about it. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. The Reds, 4.5 games back. They've won 3 straight. They go for the sweep over the Cardinals coming up later on tonight. And it's just, again, this thing's so finicky. These standings are the whole time. I know you guys aren't buying back in or putting your life savings on the Reds making the playoffs. But as I stated earlier, the reason I bought into the Reds still having a chance is not just so much because of them, but the inconsistencies of everyone around them. I mean, the Reds have won 3 straight, but every team ahead of them that's not in that final wild card spot, the Mets have lost 4 straight. Giants and Cardinals have lost 3 straight. And there's those are the 3 teams ahead of them before the Braves. The Braves have won back-to-back to kind of hold down that final wild card spot. But the inconsistencies, we talk about the Reds have as good a shot of any of those other teams because those other teams are just as inconsistent as the Cincinnati Reds, and it's just about not your full body of work for the season. It's who's playing the best baseball at the right time. Again, there's still a lot of season left, though. That's the thing. They're playing good baseball right now. It's a small sample size. Can they keep it up? But when you're getting those starts from Hunter Greene, you're getting the offensive production that they've had the last couple of games. We just have to see more of it. Not games, but series. But they have opportunities coming up, as we've talked about this week.
A ton of opportunity, and I know you're starting to see a little bit of the cracks in the National League again, where I think the Cubs have lost a couple in a row, the Brewers have lost a couple in a row, the Pirates have lost 9 in a row, and you go all around there. The Braves struggled for a long time there. The Giants, I think, are a team that nobody really believes in. There are opportunities, and they're 2 games under 500, so keep fighting, I guess. If you're able to have some sort of consistency in these series, don't get swept is the only thing I can say consistently. not getting swept gives you a chance to hang on for dear life as the season winds down. You got a lot of baseball left. Just keep fighting.
If you win more series than you lose the rest of the way out, you're going to the playoffs.
That's correct.
More likely than not. So it's pretty simple. Reds team just needs to play consistent baseball, which is probably the toughest task you can ask this team to do.
Hard to do.
Yeah.
All right, Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here on this Wednesday. Trey Wingo, we'll talk all things NFL, AFC North coming up with him in about 45 minutes. But we're going to talk a little Cincinnati Bengals coming up, of course. Jacob will have the Bengals update presented by Encore Technologies, plus a sit-in turning into a sit-out. I mean, there's a couple question marks from a guy that was absent at Bengals practice yesterday. We'll talk about all of that coming up, more Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back off the bench. 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We opened the show talking all things Cincinnati Reds, of course. Reds will look for the sweep later on tonight against the Cardinals at GABP. And right now, with some other teams imploding around them, they're kind of on a little mini streak right now. Can they keep it going? We'll talk more Reds coming up later on in the show. Let's move it over to the Cincinnati Bengals. Camp continues. Of course, we've talked a lot the last couple of days about how they looked in their first preseason game. Obviously, the Marius Mims injury news from a couple days ago was really kind of a kick in the pants for a lot of Bengals fans, no doubt about it. But there's still a lot of preseason left. There's still a lot of things that need to be ironed out. One thing that kind of got quiet for a bit was the ongoing sit-in from Ja'Marr Chase, but actions yesterday, or his presence or lack thereof yesterday, has people talking about it again. Earlier this morning on ESPN's Get Up, ESPN's Louis Riddick had this to say about Ja'Marr Chase's approach with the Cincinnati Bengals and the potential holdout. Oh, you don't have that?
No, I do not have that.
Oh, my bad. Well, I sent it. My bad.
I can find it real quick.
No. You're good. You're good. With that, we looked that up real quick, just overall. At first, I didn't, and to be honest, I had the prime opportunity yesterday on the show to dive into stirring the pot with this and making it something that it's not. I don't know what it is at this point that he did not show up to practice yesterday as far as that's concerned, but I do know it was a light practice yesterday. You're going to touch on that here in a second. It was a light practice. They're heading to Chicago. They have, of course, their joint practice with the Bears ahead of their preseason game coming up this weekend. I'm not going to overreact to him not showing up to practice as of right now, but I am curious, does he go to Chicago? Is he going to be on the sidelines, at practice? Is he going to be at the sideline of the game on Saturday and be as supportive as what he was at this previous preseason game? I think now there's a lot more attention on this situation, something that because there was no drama, there was no back and forth between him and the owner like you're seeing with CeeDee Lamb and Jerry Jones. There's no trade talk like there is with Brandon Ayuk with the 49ers. This has just been a simple, hey, we're good. He's supporting his teammates. He's showing up to practice every day. This hold-in really has not been a distraction whatsoever. It has the possibility to do that now because I think everyone's going to be keeping an eye. I think his next move will be the move that dictates whether this becomes a distraction or not. Jacob with the Bengals update presented by Encore Technologies.
Yeah, yesterday's practice, Tuesday practice, right before a travel day today, going into your joint practice tomorrow and the second preseason game on Saturday. Special teams focus yesterday, so I didn't put too much weight into Ja'Marr Chase not being there. Obviously, you would like him to stay consistent, stay with the team, because that's the way to keep the distractions at a minimum if you are going to hold in. So it's absolutely a story. It's something that we're going to have to talk about, but I didn't really put any more weight into it. Different than anything else we've seen so far from Ja'Marr Chase this summer. I think it's just more consistency, and I think he's starting to realize that maybe if he wants this thing to move along a little bit, he's going to have to get a little bit stronger in his holdout. Being clipped on the sidelines celebrating with Zach Taylor after a touchdown is great for fans and everyone to see when you're talking yourself into him being in a good place with the organization. But if he wants to put pressure on this front office to sign an extension and get that ball rolling this offseason, when obviously the Bengals don't necessarily want to do so, he's going to have to, step this up a little bit when it comes to the holdout. But other stories from yesterday's practice and just kind of generally this week as well. We've seen 2 guys move up and get a lot of reps with the ones so far this week. Those guys being rookies Jermaine Burton and Eric All. Both have been getting reps in both 11-on-11 and 7-on-7 with the ones. Eric All, a primarily receiving tight end, who a lot of people projected, just like Jermaine Burton, would have went higher in the draft without some non-football related concerns. Jermaine's obviously off the field issues, but Eric All had some pretty major surgeries that required him to miss time at both Michigan and Iowa. So seeing him out here for training camp before his rookie season is great, and getting some reps with the ones is really exciting because he could be an exciting piece to this offense as a late round find. Other guys that missed practice yesterday, B.J. Hill, but it was just for the birth of his child. He was going to be back later last night. I didn't hear if he got back or not, but everything seems to be okay with him. Would expect him to be in Chicago. Congratulations to BJ. But Jake Browning out as well with a rib injury. So we probably won't see him in the game on Saturday. If I had to guess, it'll be Logan Woodside and Rocky Lombardi the entire time, and that's when we'll probably get a beat on who's going to be kept as the third quarterback for the Bengals, whoever performs better in that game. So other than that, not too much from practice yesterday. Special teams focus, so a lot more punting stuff, but Brad Robbins tweaked his hip in pre-practice kickoff drills, so he didn't even get to do most of those competitions. So it was a lot of special teams without a lot of what we want to learn about special teams wise. So we'll see.
I was looking at the tweets yesterday about that practice, and I heard there was some frustration with Joseph Burrow. It wasn't a very good practice in terms of offensive production, I guess. I don't know what the deal was, but I don't take. This is where I don't write too much into that. No, like it's just like if you have a bad practice, you have a bad practice. Like it's. How many weeks until the season? 3.5 weeks. So it's just like I just don't. I mean, I don't care that much. You're gonna have a bad day at work, and if that's a Tuesday in the off season, then so be it. I don't think that's a big deal. I think Joe Burrow's fine. You saw it in the first drive. His wrist looked good. It looked healthy. And regarding the Jamar Chase, I know you already talked about that, but I'm gonna talk about it for a second. We can sit here and worry about it a little bit as fans, but I think. Especially in the NFL, these last-second deals, they happen all the time. So it's probably going to be the couple days leading into the season, Jamar Chase is going to sign a massive deal. And I'm not going to worry about it until we get to the season and I don't see Jamar Chase playing. Like, that's the only time I would ever worry about it. Because I know these things happen on the last second every single time. The last possible second.
Yeah, and again, I know we talked about this before the show too. And Casey, my bad on that. I swear I sent that, but it's not anywhere in the inbox. So my apologies on that. I wasn't meaning to say like you messed that up. I clearly did. I thought it was in there. My apologies. But it was a clip from ESPN's Get Up this morning. Louis Riddick was basically going to the pool that Adam Schefter was swimming in, talking about how he's vastly underpaid and that it's criminal and that, despite the fact that he's under contract for 2 more years, the Bengals need to do the right thing and take care of him now. Look, until we hear that the Bengals are not – I mean, I know Mike Brown said the time for obviously negotiating is in the offseason. Maybe they've had conversations since. I don't know. It's been pretty buttoned up as far as that's concerned. But to everything you talked about real quick, Elliot, you are completely right. We've seen many deals get done. Burrow's deal got done right before the season last year, of course. Obviously, I think someone posted about A.J. Greene's contract one time doing the same thing. To me, the story is not the contract. The story is Jamar Chase not being at practice. That to me, that's the story. So yes, everyone can talk about when these contracts get signed. I'm confident the contract will get signed, but in the meantime, he's not out there helping his teammates as far as on the field. I heard a couple shows this morning talk about the fact that anyone that just thinks that a receiver can sit out an entire camp and just run out there in week 1 and not be impacted by not being out there with their teammates for a month and a half, that's just not accurate. That's not the situation. So although Jamar Chase is super talented, he has that chemistry with Joe Burrow, to me the story is not that the contract's not signed. The story is that he's not out there. He's been out there. Yesterday he was not. I don't think that's a big deal yet until we start to see it being a pattern moving forward. If all of a sudden his presence disappears, yes, I think this becomes a major story. I do think the contract gets done like you talked about, but that's not the story to me. It's his absence that would become the story as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, and just to get ahead of it, I don't think he's going to be in Chicago.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to
So you do think that was something yesterday?
I think it's all one thing, and I think it's just a guy holding out. It's not going to go to an away preseason game. He's not going to play in anyway. I think him being out yesterday is because he's not going to travel to Chicago. I think it's all just one thing. If he's still not with the team when they come back from Chicago and they're practicing the next week, if he's still not on the field, that's when I'll be nervous about an official holdout or whatever, as opposed to the hold in or whatever we're calling this to keep us from getting worried.
Yeah, I don't doubt his skill. I don't doubt his capabilities. Him missing practice doesn't diminish who I know he is and who he is as a very good wide receiver. And I know it's a little bit hypocritical because I know last season I said, I think it was like around week 3, I said, why don't these guys play in the preseason? Because it's evident they're not ready, yada, yada, yada. I think certainly you could have that opinion here and say, is Jamar Chase going to be able to vamp up his week 1 routine during week 1 opposed to having weeks of practice and preparation? But I think he's still practicing. I think he's still preparing. And you heard it yesterday from Solomon Wilcots. He's practicing in his way. I know he's not taking reps with the team, which obviously is the whole point of practice. But he's going to be ready. He's going to be out there week 1. I still think it's going to be the Jamar Chase we all know and love. I don't think this little hold out, hold in, sit out, whatever this is called, I don't think this is going to stop him from being that guy.
All right, off the bench, Casey, anything on this too? Look, I know that not a whole lot of – the only reason this is being brought up today, again, is just because the new development of him not, showing up to practice yesterday. Again, you're saying it's all one thing, Jacob, but is this all one thing? Like, is this something now that he didn't show up to that practice yesterday?
I think I'm kind of with Jacob on this one. I think it's just because it's a guy that's not going to travel with the team and he's not even going to take a snap on the field. It is a hold in, out, whatever you want to call it. Like, he's not going to waste his time going there. So I'm not panicking yet. I'm a little different than Jacob in terms of when I'm going to start panicking. My timetable is at Thursday, September 5th, 2024 at 8:19. If there's not a deal signed by then, by the first game of the NFL season, I'll be in a little bit of a panic mode because I don't know if you guys remember, but Joe Burrow also signed his deal at like 8:19 last year at the start of the season when it was the Chiefs and Lions game. So maybe they're going to do something similar. That's just wishful and hopeful thinking. That's like the Hail Mary hope if it gets to that point. But as of this moment, I'm not too concerned. I think I'm still waiting for that week and a half before the preseason. That's what I'm expecting. My last bit of hope is that first game of the season, and if it gets further than that, then I'm in full-on panic mode. So,
well, we'll see and keep an eye on it.
Joe Burrow signed, I looked, he's right, September 9th, Saturday, September 9th.
But let's be clear, the reason this has nothing to do with that. If Joe Burrow doesn't get injured last year, he's practicing all camp leading up to that contract being signed on that September. This is he's not practicing because of this contract. So if the Bengals are playing some stupid game of, we're going to announce it as some little promotional thing right before the season kicks off, well, then you're playing a promotional game that's leading to your star wide receiver not being out on the practice field. That's weird to me. And I don't think that's what's happening. I don't think the Bengals are saving this. I just don't think they have a deal done.
I don't think that's the case either. I don't think they're intentionally waiting either. They're wanting to sign him right away and get him out there. I just don't know if the pressure will be on the Bengals at that point is what I'm getting at. And I think that you look at the deal with him, that will be when the most pressure is on them to get something done because it's the start of the season. I don't think they're just doing it on purpose to jab at the Chiefs or whoever, the Chiefs and the Ravens. I just think that is when their backs are going to be up against the wall.
But isn't it a little bit different when you're the starting quarterback, the star guy? You know they need the Bengals had no choice but to pay Joe Burrow.
Yep.
There's literally no other option. There is another option if you don't want to sign Jamar. And I think if Jamar's sitting there like, well, if I get hurt, they're just going to move on from me. They're not going to pay me any money during these practices. I think that's a reasonable thought. I think if he's sitting there and saying, if I do anything to myself during these practices leading up to this big contract, I'm not getting a big contract, and they won't bring me back after the contract ends, depending on how bad the injury is.
No, that's fair.
So I think you have that thought, and then you have the Joe Burrow thought, which is, if I'm not here, your franchise is done. So you need me. I'll be here at practice. I'll just wait. You call us whenever you're ready because I know I'm ready.
No, that's fair, because that was going to be my next thing. If Joe Burrow was holding out last year and he would not step foot on that field until he got a contract, it would be a humongous story that he's not out there. Let me ask you guys this, because Louis Riddick, and I'm so mad that I can't find that clip. I'm sorry, Casey. My bad on that again. But he kept talking about how Jamar has all the leverage. I don't think he does. Who has the leverage in this situation? I know that like former players are going to always side with players, and I know it's tough for fans to always side with the front office, but I'm looking at the front office. I'm looking at this team as a whole. I'm looking at all of these weapons that the Bengals have. With or without Jamar Chase, the Bengals will be an explosive offense. With or without Jamar Chase, they will be an explosive offense. So I'm looking at this, I'm like, the Bengals, they want to get him out there, but at the same time, I don't think Jamar has the leverage that he thinks he does. Am I wrong? Do you guys agree with that or no?
I think all of the leverage lies with the Bengals until next offseason. I think if Jamar holds out next, I don't even, if they haven't signed a contract by week 1, I still think Jamar's going to play. It's your rookie contract. It's what you do. Does he want an extension? Absolutely. I don't think he's wrong for holding out either. I think that's completely fine. I don't think he has any leverage. I think both can be true. I think the front office has all the leverage. I also think the holdout is okay, and I realize why he's doing it.
I don't think he has any leverage whatsoever. No. And it's unfortunate, but that's the way the game works when you're not the starting quarterback of a team. It's just how it is. And Jamar Chase, I think, is doing the right thing from a contract standpoint, making a money standpoint. I don't think it's a big deal that he's missing practices yet. Obviously, if he doesn't play well week 1, week 2, week 3, then I'm going to look back to this month and a half of no practice, and I'm going to say, all right, maybe that made a difference. But in terms of who has the leverage, it's the Cincinnati Bengals have all the power right now, and Jamar Chase is unfortunately powerless until they give him money.
All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio. That was Jacob's Bengals update presented by Encore Technologies.
Speaking of guys that need new contracts, congratulations.
Oh, no.
Browns have extended Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, a 3-year deal worth $39 million, $25 guaranteed. He's a phenomenal linebacker.
I was not expecting that to get done.
That's a great
at this
deal.
Exact moment, as far as that's concerned. So, yeah, I don't know. They have no money left. So
Yeah. I don't know where it's all going.
Well, no, they saved some money by not getting Ayuk. So there you go.
I guess you're right.
So there's that as far as that's concerned. So, all right, we will have Elliot's headlines coming up on the other side. We will also be joined by Trey Wingo to talk all things NFL and AFC North. More Bengals talk with him around the corner as well. News, not news, all that fun stuff coming up. More Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back Off the Bench, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here on a Wednesday. We've talked Reds, we've talked Bengals. We'll be joined by Trey Wingo coming up here around the corner. But before we do that, let's set it up. We got Elliot's headlines.
And let's talk more Reds.
Elliot loves 3 things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
Yes. Headlines today, the Reds, they win again. They have a chance to sweep the Cardinals tonight. I think I saw in the broadcast it would be the first time they swept the Cardinals at home in a very long time.
Nice.
I'm pretty sure I saw that. I could be wrong. I think the number's 7 years, but that might feel too long to me. I thought that's what I saw at the end of the broadcast. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. Sorry to me. Hunter Greene has been incredible. We talked about it. 7 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run, couple pukes. 8 strikeouts last night. He is 4-0 with a 0.98 ERA over his last 7 starts. 0.98 over his last 7.
You'd think with an ERA below 1 over 7 starts, you'd get more than 4 wins.
You'd think, but that's not the case. His season ERA is now at 2.83. He has given up. He has given up more than 3 runs in a start once in his last 12 games. One time he's given up more than 3 runs in a start. TJ Friedl went 2 for 3 with a walk, steer, and RBI, as well as a base hit. Candelario hit a home run, as did Ty France. Alexis Diaz got his 24th save of the season, as we already mentioned. The Reds are 4.5 games back. They jumped the Cubs last night. If they win tonight, they will jump the Cardinals as well. The Cardinals won a series. They split a series. And if they sweep tonight, they will take a game up on the Cardinals. The Reds are back at it tonight at 6:40. Kyle Gibson takes on Emilio Pagan. Emilio Pagan is the opener. Kyle Gibson is 7-4 with a 3.99 ERA.
Oh, so Carson Spires isn't a starter.
And 115 strikeouts. Pagan,
Interesting.
Pagan returns from the IL with a 4.22 and 26 Ks.
So Carson Spires has an opener tonight. Maybe he's not a perfect world starter for the Reds.
Yeah,
Who could have said that?
I think you did.
Oh, that's right.
And
Where
Brian-
Jacob was right.
That's right.
And Brian B.
Point Jacob.
Around the league, we don't brag about being right on this show.
No, just when Brian B is the one on the other side.
Correct. Around the league, Braves hold on to beat the Giants 4-3 in 10 innings yet again. Back-to-back 10-inning games there. Padres shut out the Pirates 3-0. They have now won 5 straight games against Pittsburgh. And the Pirates, shout out to them, they've lost 9 in a row. The Diamondbacks walk off the Rockies 4-3. It was a 2-out, 2-run single by Jake McCarthy to finish the deal. Blue Jays crushed the Angels 6-1. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. has hit safely in 23 of his last 24 baseball games. Yankees beat the White Sox 4-1. Juan Soto carried the entire team. 3 home runs, his first ever 3-home-run game, and all 4 of the runs batted in. So good for Juan Soto. Dodgers, they crushed the Brewers 7-2. Shohei goes yard yet again, as the Brewers have now lost 3 in a row. Twins obliterated the Royals 13-3. Former Red Kyle Farmer. Kyle Farmer hit his first home run of the season last night. Nationals crushed the Orioles 9-3. Andres Chaparro, I think that's his name, hit 3 doubles in his major league debut. Rookie James Wood had another 4-hit game. Marlins shut out the Phillies 5-0. Phillies have dropped 4 in a row. The Tigers dismantled the Mariners 15-1. Tarek Skubal earned his MLB leading 14th win as his ERA keeps dropping, 2.53. Kerry Carpenter hit 2 home runs in their rout of the Mariners. And finally, the Guardians, they beat the Cubs 2-1. Rookie Noel hit a 430-foot home run. Cubs have lost back-to-back games. If you missed that home run call, please take a look at it. It's very, very, very funny. I played on here, but I think it's.
You don't have it?
I think it's copyrighted. But that's it. NFL news: we have the Lions. Dan Campbell expects injured Jahmyr Gibbs to be quote fine.
Great.
Fine.
Thanks.
And Vikings rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy needs knee surgery. Uh-oh.
Aww.
Uh-oh. You don't cheer for injuries.
No.
I said this
But
yesterday.
you do root against J.J. McCarthy.
Every day of my life.
I said
Okay,
this yesterday. I'm like, never cheer for a player to get hurt, ever. But, like, if
Torn
there
meniscus is going to make it tough to sit crisscross applesauce under the goalpost.
Right? I mean, but, like, football karma sometimes, like, you look at Harbaugh right now. I mean, his quarterback, who I like, Justin Herbert, but it stinks that he's going to have a lingering injury. That foot injury is going to be a problem all season. So, like, they basically blow up most of the roster when Harbaugh gets there. So, I mean, like, look, things aren't as smooth as what they were hoping it would be making the transition over.
And that's all I wanted. All I wanted was for all those Michigan guys to get a smooth transition to the league, no
That's
bumps
right.
in the road, succeed every step of the way. So it's a real shame to see all this happening to them.
It's very much a shame. And by the way, I said this yesterday, not to talk about fantasy football while we're here, but who would draft Justin Jefferson this year with their first pick, given the situation that he's in right now? He's got J.J. McCarthy injured, and then he's got Sam Darnold, right? Yikes.
Yeah, I saw a graphic that said, who would you draft between St. Brown, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson? And I'm like, this one's not even that hard. I know most people outside of here will say Justin Jefferson. I'm like, who's throwing on the football? He goes Joe Burrow, Jared Goff, and then fill in the blank for the Vikings. So as much as I would take St. Brown over Jefferson at this point, not knowing the quarterback situation from a fantasy football standpoint. From a fantasy football standpoint is what I'm saying. But it does sound weird. You put that much trust in Goff when it's all said and done.
Yeah.
So who knows?
But that's not the final headline.
Oh, there's more.
FC Cincinnati.
Woo!
They trailed 2-0, but they fought back to tie
Let's go!
at 2-2. So Philadelphia took a 1-0 lead at the 51st minute, and then they took a 2-0 lead in the 61st minute. Then the FC Cincinnati Fighting Orange and Blues, they answered with a goal.
I believe.
That's right. With a goal in the 66th and a goal in the 80th, tied at 2-2. But then, unfortunately, tragedy struck. In the 81st minute, a minute after FC tied the game, Philadelphia took the lead back. And then just for fun, 3 minutes after that, they scored yet again to take a 4-2 lead, and they would win the game 4-2 in the league's championship cup tournament. Thoughts, Casey?
Tough one. It was a tough one yesterday. Yeah, I just think that the team tried this little experiment with Barrett on the outside on the wing, and he was just very much out of position most of the game. I think that if they were really trying to win the game, they probably would have started Lucho. They didn't sub him in until the second half of the game, and look at that. Offense came alive right after that. Just unfortunate. I'm not going to lose any sleep over it, though, because, again, it's, I don't want to say meaningless, but
well, it's the time to try new things, like that one guy at that one new position. It's it's the cup that doesn't matter. So that's when you do those things, right?
I suppose, yeah.
We're focused on winning the MLS.
Yeah, that's what we're
That's
focused
what
on.
I'm focused on.
That's right.
That's what Kinner's focused on, too.
We have one last headline.
Oh, boy.
But wait, there's more.
In the Dennis Quaid biopic about Ronald Reagan, Creed frontman Scott Stapp will play Frank Sinatra.
Whoa. How about that? That's a headline.
What a crossover.
If I've heard one.
What a crossover.
Fly me to the moon.
That's right. One
Got any
last
others?
breath. On the flight to the moon.
Yikes. Good for him.
That's right.
That was fun.
That was.
Where'd you see that one at?
The Bird app.
Okay. All right. You got any headlines, Justin?
No, I think we're good on the headlines.
That's what I thought, too.
Yep. Any other movie updates?
I can find
You
another
good?
one.
Please.
Do it.
Okay.
Do it.
All right.
Try to top that one. And now there's silence.
It's going to take a second. I don't exactly have a wealth of
It's
movie updates.
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410, ESPN Radio in Dayton. He's looking up one more headline, folks.
I'm trying to find one. I'm not
One
seeing.
more.
I'm not seeing any new. I mean, if Scott Stapp has another role, I'll let you know.
People have missed your WWE Monday Night Raw recaps, by the way. That you
right.
might have to make.
We need those back.
Yeah, people want to get that wrestling itch. Just saying. Just something to consider, moving forward as far as that's concerned. All right, more Off the Bench when we come back. We will be joined by Trey, Wingo. We'll talk about things AFC North, Cincinnati Bengals, and more. Don't go anywhere.
Well, hey. Guess what? We're doing ads early. Doing it early. We're not doing it late anymore. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. The result being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting water in the world. Visit Pawnee Water at PAHHNI water.com to see where you can buy this great tasting water. And I know we already did a little bit of the encore read here earlier because Jacob did a Bengals report, but the Bengals report was proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies. At Encore Technologies, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world, from mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data centers. They help businesses enhance efficiency and
productivity.
That's right, Jimbo. Visit encore.tech, where your path to innovation begins here. And let me talk to you guys about our ticketing sponsor, Game Time. I love Game Time. All their pricing's up front. You get to see exactly where you're sitting at. Already started looking at some Bengals tickets. They've had some really good deals. If you use like the Game Time picks, it kind of filters out all that fluff for you, and that's what I've been using to kind of look at some of those ticket prices, and it's been a little bit of a journey. I'm trying to debate whether I'm going to the new debut of the Orange Pants on December 19th with the Cleveland Browns, or if I'm going to the Whiteout in the Eagles game on the 27th of October.
Well, with Game Time super low pricing, you could probably go to both.
You're probably right, Jacob. And I can do that because we have a discount code. Let me talk to you about the Game Time app and create an account and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code $20 off your first purchase. Code OTB. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. What do you guys like about Game Time?
My favorite thing about Game Time is that, and you kind of already mentioned there, the all-in pricing, when you see it on the app, it's so much like easier to recognize, am I going to this or not? Because if I look at an event and it's telling me it's $30, and then I'll do all the stuff, and then by the end of it it's $75, I don't want that. Just tell me how much I'm paying right up front. That's what Game Time does.
Jacob?
Well, that's right. Game Times does all that.
Yeah, it does.
You ever sit back and say, "Whoo, Game Time"?
Woo, Game Time.
Every now and then I just open my phone and just look at the Game Time because the Game Time app, the user interface is so beautiful. It's so
You're right.
easy to
It
use.
is.
So
It
user-friendly.
genuinely is. I genuinely love their interface. It looks great, pristine. That's one thing about Chatterbox is that we love to present ourselves in a way that's very professional looking or very unique. Or Game Time does that. Game Time is just an all-time great ticketing app.
So when you guys look for tickets to go to like a Bengals game, like I know it's hard to get tickets to go to Bengals game now. Like
Not on the Game Time app.
No, but like what's a high price for a ticket at a Bengals game?
If it's over $150, I'm not going.
So like a 120 is a good price to go to a Bengals game?
Depending on the seat, yeah.
Depending
I mean,
on the
it's
seat, okay.
just the Bengals. The you're going to be paying a lot more for Bengals games now.
So like 136. So like I'm looking for the Bengals Patriots game. They just have a bunch of really good deals on here right now.
Yeah, that's going to be a crazy price game.
I mean, like
the opener.
$300, but like to sit down in the lower bowl.
Yeah.
But like that's on this. I'm
That's
looking at
awesome.
the same sections like on some of the other ticket sites. I mean, those are the $800-900. So like that's a significant price gap. But like for $300 to sit, like this one right here looks like it's 110, section 110, it's about $350.
That's a great deal.
That's bad. And a lot of these too, it's like you have to get at least 2 tickets, right? So like you get that with it. This I have mine set to where it knows I like to go to the Cincinnati Reds games. The Cardinals game tonight, $2. You can get tickets for $2. $5 for the Royals Reds on the 16th. $8 in the 7th. So yeah, like, and it all organizes it as you guys are that easy interface right there. So yeah, I do like the app for that too. Even Riverbend, I have it set to where anything that comes to Riverbend, the Reds, anything in Cincinnati, Dayton, or Columbus, it all organizes it for you right there. So there you go.
Other housekeeping items. If you haven't done so already, please give the show a like. Share it with a friend. Helps us grow. Helps us reach new viewers like you. Thank you. And memberships. We're going to do a box lunch after this.
That's right.
And you can get in for that for $10 a month. Get all video access, all the videos that you want that we have for the members. And then $25 will get you a discount code to our merch store. Also, check that out. We have some great merch there for you to look at and buy.
That's right. Soccer video coming out later this week.
Soccer video later this week. Per Elliot.
And a little somebody could possibly be joining the show again in the future. So if you want to prevent that, there's also a $500 subscription.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah, if you don't want that guy to come back, it's going to cost
$500 a month.
A month. Now, that'll keep him away.
And I'm broke, so someone else has to step up and
You ran out. You canceled your subscription.
I canceled my Fire Read subscription. So there you go, as far as that's concerned. But I know we have, Trey Wingo coming up here in a bit. It's that awkward little gap, so you don't want to jump back into a radio thing. I will address this because the Cleveland Browns are starting to piss me off, so I have no problem burying them real quick.
Yes.
If just want to.
Please do.
Wearing the Cincy shirt, feeling the vibes.
Are we not going back to the radio here?
Not yet. We're
Okay.
going to do this until
right.
Trey
Just
joins
double
us coming up here in a bit. But Mary Kay Cabot, the Browns defensive tackle, garbage human being, Mike Hall Jr., is in the building today. At Cross Country Mortgage Campus as the Browns prepare for their 2 days of joint practices against the Vikings. Practice, set for later this afternoon. Look, I know this is like a tough spot to be in when you're a team and you have a player that's accused of something and this, that, and the other. My thing is this, you should always want to make sure you're coming out looking on the right end, even if you end up being wrong. if all these charges were false and they were made up and this stuff didn't happen, but the Browns said, you know what, you're not allowed to come to practice. We're putting you over here to the side. We want nothing to do with you. I'd much rather the team be in that situation where they have to go apologize to him than to have egg on their face where they're really trying. And look, and I get this Browns team too, especially with all the Deshaun Watson noise and everything that they were willing to go through to get him over there. This now is just becoming way too much. Like, there has to be a point where you just have to have a zero tolerance for any of this stuff. And obviously there was a lot of criticism of the Browns for the handling of the Deshaun Watson trade and the fully guaranteed contract and the suspension from the NFL and then, all this fun stuff, right? Like, but this is ridiculous. Go read the charges on that. That's messed up. Like, the Browns shouldn't be sitting here saying, we need to fact check. We need to know if it's true. That, if you go just read it's so uncomfortable that he should be off to the side until they have every fact accounted for. I just think this is wrong. I know everyone thinks I'll make excuses for my team. No, this is messed up. Like, go read that report. Have you guys seen what exactly he's being accused of? It is, it's gross,
the
man.
accusations are pretty wild. I don't know. It's definitely a tough spot for a team when you have a guy under contract. There's not legal action taking place yet. So it's a tough spot to be. I certainly would at least hold him out of practice for a day or two.
Yeah, why right now?
Yeah.
Why is he there today? He just made bail yesterday. Why is he there today?
Right.
As far as that's concerned, that doesn't make any sense. So, I'm very curious to see what they end up doing with all that stuff. But at the end of the day, there shouldn't be a rush. I'd be surprised. Does he play this season? Knowing the Browns, probably. I know, but no. Does he play?
I don't know. I think it's gonna probably depend on what happens legally with him.
I mean, just reading the report, I mean, I don't know if we want to go in the details, but attempted murder is not I don't think that should be something that is judged lightly. So I don't know. I have no clue why he's even there. It's just a wild situation to even be in for the Browns. Like, just why even put yourself in that PR disaster? But, oh well, he's there now. So what are you going to do? And
again, practice isn't till later today. He's in the building. It could be he's there to meet with team personnel. It's not
maybe he's meeting with team personnel to get suspended.
Yeah, that could be it too.
Yeah.
So
taking away his key card.
I'm waiting to see kind of what comes of that. But again,
if he practices today, I'd be shocked.
And by the way, not defending the we see this across the NFL
100%.
where exceptions are made and we try to move the goalpost. We try to justify it. We try to make exceptions. And, I've always said, too, a lot of times with these situations, if the talent is worth the noise, teams will decide if we're going to take it on. Hey, there's going to be a lot of noise with this player, but, man, like Michael Vick, way back when, the Eagles knew, man, we're going to just get thrashed for signing him. But they knew his talent was worth the noise. Right? Like that stuff matters, and it shouldn't matter, but it does matter. That's how it's played out in the NFL and pretty much all of professional sports as far as that's concerned. Other news, not really news, but another story that caught my attention because we were talking about earlier. So the Bengals are heading to Chicago for their joint practice with the Bears. The Browns are doing a joint practice with the Vikings. And every time we have these joint practices, it never fails. There's always a video of a big fight that breaks out in the middle of these. So the Patriots, I'm not sure who they're doing a joint practice with this week, but Jared Mayo, the head coach
Eagles, I believe.
For the Eagles. Okay. So with that being said, and we've talked about this before, I'm like, look, these are dangerous. The teams get a lot out of these because you're going up against bodies that you haven't been going up against for the first couple weeks of camp. You're exhausted. You're tired of seeing the same old faces. You're getting different looks. You're getting different players. There's a lot of pros and cons. There's a lot more pros than cons that come out of this, but the cons are when you have another team that you're going up against in these joint practices, they're not really they don't have your best interest in mind. They only have their best interest in mind. So if a fight breaks out and helmets start swinging and fights break out, they're not going to make sure that they take you down softly or that they throw something soft at you. They have no regard for any injuries that come out of these little melees when they break out in practice. So it is interesting seeing how every team handles this. Jared Mayo, the head coach for the Patriots, came out and said that if you get in a fight out here, if you're a starter, you will play the entire preseason game. If you're not a starter, you won't play at all. Thoughts on that approach?
I don't hate it.
I don't hate it at all, especially where the Patriots are right now. And by the way, not to make this a whole big thing, but if you're going to do joint practices in the NFL and do preseason games, it's essentially how many extra preseason games you get with these joint practices. So it's almost like if I'm a starter at all, I'd treat these these practices, joint practices, almost like it's a preseason game. Like, I don't want to risk getting hurt against all these guys. Now, if your coach is going to make you play, then I don't know. That's your fault. But at the end of the day, it's almost silly to me that you still do joint practices and preseason games.
And like I said, I've talked to multiple people who have said that the teams, like, they get more out of these joint practices than a preseason game. The preseason games are more, and again, the joint practices, you're getting more for your starters. Starters are benefiting more from that. It's the guys that are fighting for roster spots that the preseason games seem to matter the most for. So that's why I thought this was interesting that, Jared Mayo, like, the starters don't want to play in the preseason games. So your punishment is you get in a fight, you're playing the entire preseason game. The guys that are battling for roster spots, if they're not worried about losing a starting position, but their spot on the roster's on the line, hey, you won't play at all in that preseason game. That's a huge blow to them as far as that's concerned. Now, I get it. This is a new coach coming in, wanting to, insert his authority, this, that, and the other. But, sometimes a fight isn't always started by you. If someone starts coming at you, are you supposed to just stand there and just let the punches be thrown at you and I can't fight back because I might have to play in an entire preseason game? I don't know, man. Like, I get the approach. I know he wants to sound like the guy in charge here, but I kind of want to fight to break out. I want to see if he's actually going to hold their feet to the fire. I want to see him follow through. That's all.
Yeah, it'd be pretty funny. I hope Drake May gets in a fight. He makes Drake May play.
I think
That would
he's
be very good.
I think he's hoping Drake May gets in a fight.
I think Drake May might be hoping Drake May gets in a fight after watching Joe Milton throw a couple passes.
Maybe it's a way to inspire the team. Maybe that's how we're going to inspire the Patriots to be above 4 wins this year.
That's a high line.
You think under 4?
It's right about where I'd put him.
It's tough.
Any other things you guys want to touch on before we get to Trey coming up here in a few?
I was thinking about this yesterday. What would it take for Ellie De La Cruz to win the MVP?
I mean,
It would take a Shohei injury.
I think that's the only thing.
I don't know that Shohei wouldn't win it.
At this point, with a month and a half left, yeah.
Like, I think he still might win it if Shohei didn't play another game.
And Ketel Marte has been better than, arguably, statistic-wise, has been
If
probably better than-
Ellie went 30-80, the Reds made the wild card, and Shohei got hurt, he would win MVP.
That's okay. So
I think
that's the way to do it. It would have to be. I mean, it would have to be historic. Right?
he'd
It would
have to
be a
reach that
historic one, yeah.
30 home run milestone because Shohei's going to get 40-40.
Over under the age of 26, Ellie wins an MVP.
How old's he now?
22.
22.
I'll take the under.
I still think there's going to be that, like, Shohei's going to dominate that for a bit, but there will be a Shohei fatigue, as we've talked about.
I think that first year he steals 100 bases.
Do you think he'll steal 100 bases?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, if he steals 100 bases, then
The thing, though, is
That'd be so cool.
the team.
because it would mean he would have to be getting on base at an insane rate.
The team around him matters, too, though. Like,
For sure, you got to
how
be competitive.
But is this team competitive enough this year? Like, let's say Shohei was still with the Angels and was not traded to the Dodgers. And that's the thing that stinks. Ellie's going to probably lose out on a couple MVPs with the Reds because of Shohei being – I've never even thought about that when maybe you guys did. When he was sent to the Dodgers, I never once thought, oh, man, that's an MVP block right there as far as that's concerned. But let's say he wasn't with the Angels. Is he the favorite to win? Or at least, I mean, is he being talked about more in the MVP conversation if Shohei's not a Dodger?
Yes.
Yeah. If Shohei's in the American League, I think Ellie's up there for sure. I mean, Ketel Marte's had a phenomenal year. He gets lost in the shuffle a lot, but he's had a phenomenal year. So I don't know if he'd be number one, but I mean, he'd be up there.
He'd have to be number 2, and I'd argue that his name recognition would put him ahead of Ketel Marte in terms of some voters. I don't know how that works, if I'm going to be honest with you. I just know Joey Votto got snubbed of one because Giancarlo Stanton was the big name, and he
Hit
was
a couple home
He was the
runs.
flashy guy, and yada yada yada. But Joey Votto had an incredible year that year, and he finished second because he was on a very terrible Reds team, and he got lost in the shuffle.
Yeah, I think we just got to hope Shohei gets the LeBron treatment sometime soon, and you're just like, oh, he has a 2.5 ERA, hit 40 home runs.
Exactly.
Who cares? He does it every year. So I think that's how Ellie's going to win an MVP.
Really hoping for that suspension of that gambling thing to come down, right? All right, we're going to get back to the radio side. We'll open up with some AFC North talk and then wait for Trey to jump on with us. But we'll just jump back into radio.
All right, here we go.
All right, and we are back for the radio side of things. This is hour number 2. Well, no, technically it's hour number 2 for both the YouTube side
right.
and the radio side. How about that? We synced that up perfectly. But hour number 2 off the bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. Before we dive into the AFC North conversation, you guys threw out about over/under Ellie winning an MVP before he's 26. He's 22 right now. What were you? Someone commented in the chat about what?
Just about stealing 100 bases.
No.
It's that Jacob was saying that if he stole 100 bases, it would almost cement his an MVP.
Okay.
And I would have to agree. I'm going to take the under because I've seen what he's done this year at such a young age. I think he's going to be able to do it within the next couple of years. My only thing is what Justin brought up is how good are the Reds going to be? Because usually, and I guess maybe not usually, but it's hard to give an MVP to a guy that's on a team that's not very good, not very fun to watch. When will the Reds be on Sunday Night Baseball next?
Yeah.
That's like
was the last time they were on, was that the Brian Price 55 F-bomb tirade game? Was that the last time they were on Sunday Night Baseball?
I think Joey Votto was on it once because he was mic'd up during the game. I'm pretty sure.
I think it was against the Braves, the opening series.
Did they get a Sunday night game last year?
I don't think so. No, because they were supposed to be really bad. They were supposed to be really bad last year.
I wish baseball would do the flex schedule and get that stuff. I hate that they lay that out for the whole year, what the Sunday Night Baseball is going to be. I think that's ridiculous because baseball's known for surprise teams. I mean, most sports are, but baseball especially. The Reds are a prime team to be putting in that. I mean, how come the Reds get thrown in the Field of Dreams game? They get thrown in this old the Speedway game or whatever the hell it's called or whatever. They get used for all these major marquee games or whatever, but they can't get a damn Sunday Night Baseball matchup.
It's about the viewership, I guess. I don't know. I think a lot of those, it's about the history of baseball, yada, 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 and you don't write the history of baseball without the Cincinnati Reds being the oldest team. So I think that goes into it, being in the Field of Dreams game. You get to see the old-timey Reds uniforms and everything like that. It just stinks. There's no national recognition for the Reds. I know there's been certainly more lately because of Ellie De La Cruz and Hunter Greene. But it's not what other teams get, and that's just how it is. Small market team, and they've been terrible for a heck of a long time. So
there you go. All right, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. We're waiting for Trey Wingo to jump on with us. We will talk all things AFC North with him. Obviously, as we've talked a lot about the Bengals. Browns made a lot of noise with obviously with the legal situation with one of their players, of course. Just another year, right? But the AFC North as a whole, the Steelers making a lot of noise right now. I kept thinking they were done with this Brandon Ayuk that they're pursuing or whatever, and it sounds like there's a deal that's on the table that both the Niners have accepted. The Steelers are happy with it. They're waiting for Brandon Ayuk to sign off on it. Then more reports come out that Brandon Ayuk is close to getting a deal done with the Niners for an extension. It sounds like there's a holdup in the extension based on the years. This is something that could impact the Chase deal too, because what I saw was he wants that 4-year extension. They want to give him a 3-year extension, adding to next year. So it's technically only a 3-year extension, but he wants 4 on the back end of next year. So there's the wording of that. But Brandon Ayuk, is he going to be a Pittsburgh Steeler? Pittsburgh keeps being thrown back into this conversation.
I think that's the only team he will play for, not named the Niners. I think if he's not a Steeler, he will be a Niner regardless of extension. I think he'll play this year out. I feel very similar to him as I do Jamar Chase. I just think there's a much higher likelihood that he gets traded. I think there's a 0% chance Jamar Chase gets traded. But if Ayuk doesn't get traded, he's going to play for the Niners in week 1. And if he doesn't get an offer from the Steelers that he likes, I assume he's going to sign an extension with the Niners as well. He's not going to pass up on the money and test the open market. He already had an offer north of $30 million with the Patriots, and he said no. So it's obviously not just money that he wants. He cares about winning at least to a degree. But if you really value winning, why are you leaving San Francisco to go to Pittsburgh? So
yep.
I can't really get a beat on what he's prioritizing in this whole thing. But there's no better situation for a wide receiver than San Francisco. And I don't know why he would leave, at least now. Play out this year, your rookie contract, and then go next year if you really want to go. But, yeah, I think he's going to be a Niner, if I'm going to be completely honest.
I can't see him being something other than a Steeler right now. I think he's burnt the bridge so far in San Francisco that it's like if he comes back, I don't know the type of player you are or the type of player you want to be with us. What kind of attitude are we getting in the locker room? I don't know because he's almost protested. He's made a mockery of the 49ers on social media, yada, yada, yada. I do think that if he goes to the Steelers, he's picking a franchise that obviously wins a lot. Maybe not Super Bowls.
9 games a year.
But they do have. Listen, we make fun of the 9 games a year thing, but if they're competitive, and they get to the playoffs every year. So, by the way, one of the toughest divisions this year, I believe it will be the toughest division in the NFL. So, yeah, I think he's going to be a Steeler. I think he denied the Browns offer of, I think it was the Amari Cooper trade, denied that one, denied the Patriots one. If he's banking on some other team at the 25th hour, you're not going to find it. Go to Pittsburgh, see what you can do with Mike Tomlin, probably win 8 to 9 games, and we'll see what Russell Wilson can throw you.
Are you surprised that it's only been 3 teams? It's only been the Patriots, Browns, and Steelers. It's only been those 3 teams that have been in on the Ayuk deal conversation. Is that kind of strange? I mean, wide receivers, we talked about how that market has boomed. Every team needs them. I'm just surprised more teams, especially – well, I mean, I guess the Commanders were involved for a bit too, but they haven't revisited anything. They're probably not willing to give up anything of substance or have anything else of substance that the Niners want. I'm just surprised more teams haven't been lining up trying to get this done.
The requirements for this trade are so specific. You need to have a wide receiver that you can send back,
Correct.
which not many teams have a high-level wide receiver they're willing to part with. And then you need to be able to give up some significant draft capital as well for a player like Brandon Ayuk. And you have to sign him to a $27+ million a year extension, 3, 4, 5 year extension. So it's the pool of teams capable of trading for Brandon Ayuk, I think, is very small. And I think we've seen most of those teams make the call. I mean, You see even the team like the Commanders that has bowed out of it so far. They have receivers like, Terry McLaurin, who's been there for a while, but you have, Jahan Dotson, and I forget the guy's name, but the guy out of North Carolina a couple of years ago. So you could trade one of those guys. That's why they were always linked to San Francisco and to Ayuk. But I just don't think a lot of teams are gung-ho on signing a receiver for $30 million that has been on an offense where a guy like Deebo Samuel takes away a lot of the focus, a lot of the cornerback ones, in an offense run by Kyle Shanahan, who's one of the brightest minds in football, one of the most heralded offensive coordinators. He's the head coach now, but still calls their plays. He does a phenomenal job, and he gets Ayuk open. So I think there's a level of concern about what he's going to be able to do productivity-wise outside of San Francisco as a true number one without Kyle Shanahan calling the plays.
Not to mention, if you're a team that already has a wide receiver one, a la Tyreek Hill, Jamar Chase, one of the big guys, you're already having a lot of money tied up in that room. So to add a guy that you would be trading a lot to essentially sign, you don't give up that many pieces without the intention of signing. You don't do that if you already have your wide receiver room filled out or the money's already filled out. It's just, like Jacob said, it's so specific what you need. You need a wide receiver one that's good enough, but maybe not the world's best wide receiver, like a Terry McLaurin. I think Terry McLaurin's very, very good, but I don't think he's up in the tier of Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill. And then you need a decent backup wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, that you can trade him. You're going to have to pay him because it doesn't make sense if you just sign him for a rental. And then the other thing is that, again, I'm going to keep mentioning, is the character issue. And we can say it's not a character issue. It's up to you. It's just one of those things. If you think going on Instagram nonstop, talking about how he's leaving San Francisco, yada, 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 do you want that type of guy on your team that at any moment he can start going on Instagram and saying that kind of stuff?
Yeah, and the one thing, too, I just found from Jeremy Fowler is one reason that other teams have not jumped into it is there's not a lot of faith around the league that they are operating in good faith of actually trying to move him. They believe that he is using a lot of these teams just for leverage to ultimately get the deal that he wants as far as that's concerned. When it's all said, and that would make sense. Because I'm like, why are the Jets, why are some of these other teams, the Chargers are a team that you think would try to get in this conversation, and they're not in that position to do it either. So, all right, but we'll keep an eye on that. Obviously, CeeDee Lamb, the drama going on in Dallas. I saw I think it was Everett that said, is Jamar Chase waiting on potential CeeDee Lamb deal getting done? I don't think CeeDee's deal is going to eclipse Jamar Chase or Justin Jefferson's. Do you?
Yes.
You think it'll be more than Jefferson's?
Yes.
So could that play? I mean, is that what Chase is
doing?
Yeah.
I've been saying that basically all summer. I think they're both waiting on Ayuk, and I think they're both waiting on each other.
But Casey, are we good to go? We lined up?
Yep, we're lined up, ready to go.
All right, well, good stuff. All right, let's continue our conversation, talking all things AFC North. In fact, we'll step away for a few moments. We will be joined by Trey Wingo. We'll talk all things NFL. We'll talk all things Cincinnati Bengals, AFC North, and more. Trey Wingo joins us next. All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton, Ohio. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here, continuing the program here on a Wednesday. We opened up the show. We talked all things Cincinnati Reds. We talked Cincinnati Bengals. Jamar Chase is his hold-in turning into a holdout. We opened up with that earlier as well. We had Elliot's headlines. We still have plenty more to dive into. Joining us now to continue the football conversation, talking all things AFC North, we have Mr. Trey Wingo. Trey, it has been a while, sir. How are you? Welcome.
Good to be with you. How are you guys?
Not bad. Hey, thank you again for jumping on with us. Of course, one thing we were just talking about before you jumped on with us was, of course, kind of the Brandon Ayuk situation. Obviously, Pittsburgh's been one of the main teams that have been kind of linked to him, or at least linked to Ayuk, because Ayuk willing to go play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Are the Pittsburgh Steelers just a pawn, in your opinion, in Ayuk's negotiation tactic here to get a deal done with the Niners, or are the Steelers a legitimate contender, in your opinion, to land Brandon Ayuk?
Well, look, I don't know if they're a pawn, but I don't know how serious San Francisco is about trading him. And I don't know, if it's a pawn in Ayuk situation or it's a pawn in the 49ers situation. I think the 49ers would trade Brandon Ayuk, but not unless they feel like they get exactly what they think they want in return. This whole summer's been like, do the Niners want Brandon Ayuk to play? Yes, they do, at his current contract. That's the entire thing. They want him to play at a number they're very comfortable with him playing at. And so the issue is there's a difference between what Brandon Ayuk wants to play for and what the 49ers want him to play for. Clearly, Ayuk has strong opinions about where he thinks he should be. He turned down, $32 million a year to go to the New England Patriots, and I can't say that wasn't a terrible decision. I mean, you look at what the Patriots have become, and their quarterback situation is unsteady at best. And Brandon, if he's going to eat as a wide receiver, is going to need to get catches. So I can understand his hesitancy to go there, which is so weird because that was the place everybody went, right, to get a ring and then got their money somewhere else. And now the Patriots have to beg to get people to come, like they did with Juju the previous year. And they tore up that $36 million contract after 1 year. And now they can't get Ayuk to come there for $32 million.
Trey, is it weird? I mean, not weird, but like it feels like there's the conflict right now between ownerships and players where, again, we're talking about these receivers wanting to get these extensions done with 2 years remaining on their contract. Obviously, Ayuk's a little different because he was drafted later, but Ayuk, Jamar Chase, with a lot of these receivers starting negotiations a lot earlier, is there, you talk about ownerships not wanting to kind of cave into those situations. The players are going to win this, right? Like, is this going to be a pattern moving forward where guys are getting paid years in advance and not a year in advance?
Well, look what's happened recently with Devontae Adams got his deal when the Packers wouldn't pay him, and he got a ton of money to go to the Raiders. And then Tyreek Hill left the Chiefs and got not one, but a second big contract, contract redone with the Miami Dolphins. But if you're owners, you're looking at those two situations. Let's just take a look at Devontae Adams and Tyreek Hill. What have they won? I mean, they got those receivers, and I'm all for players getting all their money. I want to be 100% clear about this. But Devontae Adams and the Raiders has not been a good marriage in any way, shape, or form. There's all these ideas that he may be joining Aaron Rodgers with the Jets, and we'll see what happens there. The Dolphins have done really well in the regular season. I think they beat one team with a winning record last year, and that was the Dallas Cowboys in that game right around Christmas. And then they went to Miami. They went to Kansas City and got smoked in a cold game in the postseason. So it's interesting. If you're excelling at your position, absolutely you should get paid. But if you're an owner, okay, well, we paid all that money to Devontae Adams. We haven't done anything. And with Tua having Tyreek and Jalen Waddle, they still haven't had the opportunity to win a postseason game yet. So it's a possibility this will still happen, but at some point people aren't going to want to see a return on their investment.
Hi, Trey. Jacob here. And just another question about a different wide receiver who's been holding out this offseason. Jamar Chase not at practice for the first time yesterday for the Bengals. Do you think there's more meat on that bone than Bengals fans want to admit? I'm trying not to get nervous myself. But all right,
the answer is yes. The answer is yes. Listen, if you're first of all, there's two things. If you're a Bengals fan, you should be really optimistic on one level, right? We finished 9-8 last year. Joe Burrow didn't play for half the season, and we still had a winning record. And, there's been that weird situation where teams have gone from worst to first almost every year, it seems. And the Bengals would seem like they would be a team primed to do that. So there's optimism there. There's something not right about this offseason in Cincinnati. I can't put my finger on it. Can't say exactly what it is. But why they're messing around with Jamar Chase's contract is I don't understand. It's the most Bengals thing ever, right? In the pre-Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor creation of this organization. This is what the Bengals were. This is what the Bengals did. They found players. They mess it up somehow. So they're messing with Jamar Chase. The T. Higgins thing is still very interesting. Joe's had an interesting summer, man, or an interesting offseason, right? He goes on these fashion shows, and now he shows up looking like early Eminem. I don't know. It was kind of reminds me of the situation with the Bills last year and Stephon Diggs. It just, something wasn't right all year, and it finally escalated, and Stephon is now a member of the Texans. Something's not right in Cincinnati. So, yeah, if I'm a Bengals fan, I'm a little, wait a minute, we're not going to be the Bengals we were before all this, right? Because it sort of has a little bit of that feel to it.
Yeah, and the other thing about that, too, obviously the T. Higgins situation at the beginning of the offseason, asking for the trade. The reason I find this Jamar Chase thing as weird as it is because I had kind of accepted the fact that the Bengals were okay with not bringing T. Higgins back because the big goal was, hey, we're going to have the highest paid quarterback in the league and the highest paid wide receiver in the league in Jamar Chase. I understood why they maybe didn't want to marry T. Higgins long term. But if you knew that you're not bringing T. Higgins back, then what is the holdup with getting this Jamar Chase deal done? Because the whole reason that the T thing couldn't be extended was because of Jamar's future with the Bengals. So, yeah, again, they come out and they say it's part of a plan, and they've tried to handle it that way. But, again, when it went from a hold in to him not showing up at practice yesterday, that's when the red flags really started to pop up for some who are concerned about the situation.
Well, everybody has a plan until they're asked what the plan is, right? The Cowboys had a plan. They're all in this offseason. They're all in on watching everybody leave, apparently, was what they meant, and not paying anybody. So, I mean, you can say you have a plan, but until you tell people what the plan is, no one's going to believe you, right? So what's the plan? Tell me what the plan is, Cincinnati front office. Please, enlighten us all.
So with that being said, the AFC North is absolutely stacked, obviously. I mean, all four teams, even with Joe Burrow being out last year. I mean, the Cincinnati Bengals finishing last, but they finish above 500. All four teams finishing above 500. Best division in football, I'm assuming you agree with that. How do you see this AFC North playing out this year? Because you get Russell Wilson over to Pittsburgh, the Browns with one of the best defenses in the league, hoping to get Deshaun back to form. The Bengals get Joe Burrow back and healthy. Of course, we just talked about some of the stuff that they're dealing with. And then there's two-time MVP Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, who are a very good overall team. The North is stacked, no doubt about it. How do you see these cards playing out?
Yeah, it's the toughest division in football this year. It really is going to be interesting. And when you have a situation like that, the question long term is, will they cannibalize each other? Will playing each of those guys twice sort of really knock people out of where they want to be in terms of playoffs? You mentioned Russell Wilson. I'm not so sure that Justin Fields isn't going to be the starting quarterback for the Pittsburgh Steelers when it's all said and done. Yeah, he had a couple of fumbled exchanges in that preseason game, but other than that, he looked pretty sharp. And the center, I mean, it always goes on the quarterback, right? If it's a botched exchange, it goes down as a quarterback fumble. But the center said he took full responsibility for both of those issues. And there's incentive to want Justin Fields to do well as opposed to want Russell Wilson to do well, because they're not really paying either one of them. The Denver Broncos are paying the Steelers a substantial amount of money to have Russell Wilson play for the Pittsburgh Steelers. But it does feel like Justin Fields might beat him out there. The division is stacked. The Browns won the division despite their quarterback, whom they gave the highest paid guaranteed money in all time in the history of the NFL, which will never happen again because of how this is played out. They won despite that. They won because of Joe Flacco and that defense. That's how they got into the postseason. So the division is really, really, really tough. And I'm curious to see what happens with the Ravens, because they had a couple losses on defense. Obviously, they bring in Derrick Henry. But, at the end of the day, I think we know what the Ravens are, and it's problematic. People always like to talk about the athleticism of Lamar Jackson and all this kind of stuff, and that's wonderful. And he's a 2-time MVP. Absolutely. He deserved each one of those awards. But at the end of the day, the Chiefs, with Patrick Mahomes as their starting quarterback, have more Super Bowl wins, 3, than the Ravens do in the postseason with Lamar Jackson as their starting quarterback, 2. So at some point, you need to accelerate the process here.
As a Bengals fan, I'm not a big fan of the Steelers, and you touched on them just then. The final 8 weeks of the season for Pittsburgh, it's one of the toughest 8 weeks I think I've ever seen on a football schedule. You have all 6 divisional games, and then you add on the Chiefs and Eagles just for fun. Is this the year? Is this the year Mike Tomlin goes under 500?
Well, it would be the first, right? I mean, it's never happened.
Could be.
And people downplay that a lot. They're like, well, what, we're supposed to just be settled with. No one's done it. Bill Belichick didn't do this, okay?
Yeah.
No one has ever gone this long without a losing season. So, obviously, you not only want to not have a lose, you want to win postseason games. I get that. I understand all of that. But you can't win the postseason if you're not in the postseason. And that's the most remarkable thing about Mike Tomlin. Look, he's done the hardest thing, which is transition from a Hall of Fame franchise quarterback to the next era, and they still find ways to win. I mean, guys, they couldn't score for the majority of last year. They couldn't gain any yard. I mean, it was ridiculous, and they still found a way to sneak into the postseason. So, yeah, their schedule is tough, and to your point, that is difficult when you put in the Chiefs and the Eagles plus all their division games. But the one thing I've learned over the years, do not go by unless you have Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, or Peyton Manning as your starting quarterback. Do not go off last year's record to determine how successful or tough this year's schedule is going to be, right?
Yeah.
For example, something's rotten in Philadelphia too. Let's just be honest about it. They failed down the stretch. There is clearly an issue between their quarterback and their head coach. And people say, well, that's media driven. No, Jalen Hurts answered the question and said, why are we talking about this? This is old news. Well, if it's old news, that means it was a thing and we're just hearing about it now. Okay. So that's a problem. You go back to that clip in Super Bowl 57, where there was that long delay whether or not Dallas Goedert caught that catch for a first down, and Nick Sirianni sort of doing its first down like this. Oh, yeah. And Jalen Hurts, to his coach, was like, dude, chill out, calm down, all right? You're acting like a 12-year-old, okay? So something is wrong there. Something is wrong. So I just, the Texans were supposed to be a layup for everybody last year, right? They won the division and went to the playoffs. So I don't ever look at a schedule this year and go off last year's records and wins and losses because it changes every year. But yes, the division is difficult, and those two teams should be good.
We got Trey Wingo with us here again off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Trey, you mentioned the Houston Texans. I know we're talking a lot of AFC North, but C.J. Stroud, I mean, just a fantastic rookie season, one of the best, if not the best rookie season ever in the history of the NFL. The Texans, they add Stephon Diggs, and they add some depth, or they add a weapon on that defensive line. We watched the Cincinnati Bengals team who went out and they get a Jamar Chase, and in year 2 they find themselves in the Super Bowl. Could we see a similar run in year number 2 with C.J. Stroud and the Texans? How do you see them stack it up against a very loaded AFC right now?
You could, absolutely. C.J. was unbelievable last year, and they also get Joe Mixon. They've got a depth at the receiving corps, including hoping everybody comes back healthy. The only thing I'll say is 15 is still playing, and I will default to that dude until he decides to no longer play football. It's like I was going to be the last guy to leave the Patriots bandwagon because I've seen it so long. I've seen them just find ways to get it done. So, yes, is it possible that the Texans could be in the Super Bowl? Absolutely. But if you're asking me to pick one team from the AFC, I'm going with the guy that texted his family in January of last year in the worst season of his career in terms of offensive output, yards per attempt. His receivers led the league in drops. And he texted his family before the final regular season game, which he wasn't playing, I've decided we're going to win the Super Bowl. Not that I think we have a chance. Not that I think we can get there. I've decided that we, the Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes I'm talking about here, are going to win the Super Bowl. And that's exactly what happened. They had one touchdown drive in that entire game. And what was it? The drive they needed to win the frickin' game in overtime. That was the only touchdown drive of the game. I will always default to Mahomes. And I know that makes Jamar Chase a little angry and he gets a little nasty and he doesn't like it, well, you know what? He is who he is, and this team is who they are, and their track record is pretty damn good. So I'm going to default to the Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes until it doesn't happen.
All right, Trey Wingo, last thing on the way out. You talk about the Chiefs obviously going for the three-peat this year. No other quarterback has had as much success against the Chiefs than the Cincinnati Bengals quarterback in Joe Burrow at this point. Obviously, the Houston Texans, I just asked you about their shot at getting to the Super Bowl out of the AFC. Obviously going to be a big threat, but the biggest threat to the Chiefs out of the AFC, is it still Joe Burrow and the Cincinnati Bengals?
It is if Joe's healthy. It is if Jamar Chase is playing and happy. It is if everything is right. Look, there's so many things, right? Like San Francisco has the best roster in football. I believe that. But they don't have Patrick Mahomes. They have a very good quarterback in Brock Purdy. They just don't have Patrick Mahomes. But they had to cancel a practice this summer with the Titans because they were so banged up. And as Bengal fans will know, the last thing you want to hear about a star player is a calf strain, right? And that really limited Joe when he was playing before the other injuries happened. Well, now you got a calf strain with Christian McCaffrey. And that's a much bigger issue, in my opinion, because of what the running back does with that calf as opposed to what a quarterback does with that calf. So I would always default towards San Francisco as the biggest team in the NFC or in the league to give them a shot, even though they've had a 10-point lead in 2 Super Bowls and found a way to lose them both in the fourth quarter. But I think the Bengals are right there. If I'm wrong on all this, just something's not right. It just doesn't feel cohesive at the moment.
I have one last question for you, Trey. I'm a big fan of. I'm a big fan of. This is a very unserious question, so I apologize. I'm a big fan of your nature.
Well, I'm very serious. I'm wearing a T-shirt, so it's very serious.
I'm a big fan of your nature photography. I haven't seen any bear pictures lately. Have you seen any bears within the past 3 years since the picture?
No, because we moved. We don't live in the woods where the bears are anymore. We live down here by the coast where we have a bunch of coyotes now. The bears were in the woods we were up in Hartford. They were on our porch all the time, and they came through nightly. But no, the bears. We have moved down to the shore, so the bears aren't on here, but the coyotes are.
Okay, all right. Well, be careful. Be very careful. If you don't mind, a picture of a coyote would be great.
Let's see if I can find that for you. Tell what's his face to send me his cell phone number and I'll get it.
Yeah, Kenner.
What's
Kenner, why don't you read that over the air?
I'm messaging it to you right now. Actually,
read it over the air.
There we.
You go.
Oh, look at
that! All right, got it.
Boom. All right, I just sent the number.
I'll send you. There it is. Sent. Got it.
Love it. Where's it coming through? Did you send it?
It's got to go. It's got to go through a lot of states.
Through the process. If that's okay. All right.
Come on now.
It's technology, Ken. Well, thank you. That was a very serious sports question.
Oh, it's a very.
Well, you know what? It's just as good as anything else we've done, so don't worry about it.
Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410, ESPN Radio in Dayton. Soon. Yeah, we'll show the picture shortly once it comes through. But Trey, you are the man. Oh, you got it. Never mind.
No, I don't have it yet. I'm looking for it.
Well, when he sends it, we'll show it.
All right.
And we'll share it. But Trey, you're the man, sir. We appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Right. Take care, guys. Be good.
See ya.
Thank you.
All right. Again, as soon as that comes through, we'll share that here in a bit. But Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, Jacob Tissett. We'll have more Off the Bench when we come back. So now everyone's saying, what's his face? So this is what's his face? Casey McAllister, Elliott Rearing, Jacob Tissett back with you here on Off the Bench, 1410 ESPN Radio, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. So big takeaways from that, of course. We talked a lot of AFC North, but he is not a believer that it is a nothing burger going on with the Jamar Chase contract situation. We spent a lot of time on this. I don't want to spend a lot more time. Just asking you from the standpoint of, an outsider like that, Trey Wingo, again, from a national perspective, saying that just something doesn't feel right with this Cincinnati Bengals team. Is that alarming at all to you?
No, I think it's absolutely the right take. I think everyone trying to act like it's nothing is just doing what I'm doing, and it's trying to not freak out about one of your star players not being in practice. I think that's really all it is.
Yeah, I agree 100%. My biggest takeaway was the bear thing.
The bear?
Yeah.
That's it?
Do you guys get the reference when I asked that or no?
No.
No, is
So-
this an RFK thing? I didn't
No,
know.
like 4 years ago, he posted a picture of a bear on his back patio, and there was a big scuttlebutt about whether or not that bear picture he took or was just an internet picture of a bear. And I think I don't know if we ever found the answer. I know no free ads, but Pardon My Take interviewed him and asked the same thing and tried to get to the bottom of it. I don't know if we got closer, but I expect a coyote picture. If we get a coyote picture, I'll believe it.
I hope it's a stock photo.
I hope it is too. That's like if the whole thing was, is it a stock photo? We don't know.
So I'm sending it to you now. He just sent it. It's a video. It's a video. Now I feel like I'm 80 and trying to learn my phone. Okay, so there's that. I downloaded that, so now I got to pull up your there we go. So now it is sent to you right now. I should send it to Casey, too, so he could share it with
Send it to
everybody
me so we
else.
can show it.
As far as that's concerned. But nonetheless, okay, it's nothing. I mean, Trey Wingo comes on, says that there's something's not right with the Bengals. Jacob says it's nothing. You say it's nothing. So it's nothing. There's nothing to worry about in Cincinnati. Everything is hunky-dory. It is just fine as far as that's concerned. So, all right, we'll do a little buy or sell here in the final portion of the radio side of the show. Shout out to Trey Wingo. I do appreciate him giving us a little bit of time and jumping on with us here today. Are you seeing the coyote in the video? I haven't watched the whole thing. How close is it to the house?
It looks like a little tiny baby.
It looks like a little tiny baby.
It it appears to be a puppy coyote. Like that's a puppy coyote. It looks like a rabbit.
really far away.
It looks like a rabbit.
Yeah, that's the smallest coyote I've ever seen.
That's a rabbit.
So that's from him. Oh, yeah, it's just kind of bouncing around. That doesn't look very scary. A bear would be much more terrifying.
A bear would be terrifying.
As far as that's concerned. But okay, little news or not news as we close out the radio side here this afternoon. Again, off the bench, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett with you here. News or not news? With less than a month until the start of the 24th season, it appears that Chiefs star wide receiver Rice will not be suspended. News or not news?
Not news because it wasn't news when it happened because we knew he wouldn't be suspended. So
This is how the NFL operates, unfortunately, and we know it's going to happen. He plays for the Kansas City Chiefs. It's the NFL's biggest moneymaker. Character issues. I'm going to be very careful with what I say. Character issues. I'm not going to say don't matter in the NFL, but it depends who you are. Certainly. And when you're a star wide receiver for the Kansas City Chiefs, who will get every primetime game known to man, who will probably be playing for another AFC championship game, and you do something bad, objectively, it goes through a lot of probably lawyers and producers and everything that goes with the TV side and says, well, we need him to play because we need the Chiefs to be exciting, and yada, yada, yada. I'm not going to say that's for sure how they do it. They've definitely gotten better with it. But at the end of the day, just like Jacob said, I know that he wasn't going to face a serious punishment.
So you know that because you think the NFL is propping up the Kansas City Chiefs.
Ray Rice's suspension was what, 3 games at the time of the video?
yeah,
3
something
games?
like that.
And then obviously it was worse. But the initial suspension's 3 games for what he did. So, yeah, I believe that the NFL doesn't really care about character issues as long as it's making them money.
All right, Casey, news or not news, Rashee Rice will most likely not be suspended, star receiver for the Chiefs.
It's not news because it's not news to me. It's not news to Jacob, all for the same reasons. It's just like you knew that he wasn't going to get suspended because he's the Kansas City Chiefs receiver, and it's the NFL. And
Addison hasn't gotten suspended either, right?
I don't think so. So I just like, it is what it is. It's the NFL. So
until they come out and say he's not going to be suspended, I'm not going to say it's news or not news. I think the fact that this came out from reporters saying that will likely not be suspended. I think that you got to wait till a final ruling is, because you're right. I forgot about I was just about to ask, as far as precedent's concerned, another similar situation. Addison, the similar situation there for pretty much the same stuff, and no suspension has been handed down for him either. So the NFL not propping up the Vikings. That's for sure.
That's correct.
As far as that's concerned. All right, continuing on, news or not news. Yeah, let's get a little controversial. Colin Kaepernick, dude. Let's talk about Colin
boy.
Kaepernick. Just football, right?
Let's do it.
Colin Kaepernick says he is still training and is expecting to make an NFL comeback. News or not news?
Give it up, dude.
I think it's.
Give it up.
I think. How old is he? Is he 38?
I don't know, but I'm sure there's
Let me
still
look-
that
let me look.
counter
He's in
on
his
his
late
website
30s.
for 7,000 days in a row. He stayed ready just in case the team wants him. Spoiler alert, they don't. You can stop with the comeback. It's not news. We all know Kaepernick's never playing in the league again.
He's 36 years old. I think it's great that he's trying to be back in the league. I think, unfortunately, the league has outgrown him. I think towards the end of his career, he wasn't a very good quarterback. And now coming into this league right now where quarterback is king. And maybe that's how it's always been, but certainly now more than ever, quarterback is king. If I were a team, I wouldn't be looking for a 36-year-old player who hasn't played in the league, and I don't know what the year was the last time he played. So, no, this isn't news per se, but good for Colin Kaepernick trying to play in the NFL still.
Maybe if Herbert misses
if I
some
tried
time.
out for the elder varsity tennis team right now, that's as much as news as this.
That's right. Maybe if Herbert misses some time, Harbaugh will get his old boy back.
Maybe that would be that. Listen, I want it to happen just to see it. I want Kaepernick to come back to the league just so I can watch him play and to see if he's actually going to be as bad as I think he will be. But who knows? Maybe he'll be good.
Look, this
At
isn't
age 36.
him saying that he is still training and waiting to make an NFL comeback. To me, that's not news because he continues to say that it'll be news when he actually does attempt, a real attempt to make a comeback. Look, I know with Colin Kaepernick, a polarizing name like that, it right away leads to other conversations. And the reason I have no problem bringing up Colin Kaepernick's name is because sometimes an opinion is just a sports opinion. This is just a sports opinion. There's no political angle with bringing up Colin Kaepernick in this situation. From a football standpoint, the guy stinks. Guy, from a football standpoint, this guy, I said earlier, if your talent is worth the noise, teams will take a chance with you. And his talent, no matter what the noise was, regardless of what side you fall on, the talent was never worth the noise as far as that's concerned. Right? Whether you agree with that or not, it doesn't matter. There's not a team out there that was looking at him saying, we are a Colin Kaepernick away from winning a Super Bowl. We will deal with the noise. I am not justifying what the Browns did, okay? Because we talked about how teams in the NFL, all that matters is making money. They will make decisions based on what can you do for me from a football standpoint. Deshaun Watson, although his talent has not done anything as far as matching what they were hoping he would be from when he was with Houston, the Browns looked at Deshaun and said, man, we're going to get absolutely obliterated for this, but his talent is worth the noise. Now, his talent has just not been there. But his talent was worth the noise. There's a lot of talent that's out there that is worth the noise that comes with it. He doesn't have the talent. So there would be a lot of noise with Colin Kaepernick no matter what team signed him. He just doesn't have the talent that makes him worth it at the end of the day.
He went this is his quarterback record, 8-8 in 2014. He went 2-6 in 2015. Didn't start every game. And then you have a 1-10 season in 2016. And again, I don't believe he started every single game. I think he was benched towards the end. So, yeah. And by the way, that year was 2016. Was the last time he played in the league. I thought it was crazy. I thought for sure it was like 2018, 2019. 2016 was the last time he played in an NFL season.
I was a freshman in high school.
59% completion percentage, and he went 1-10. Tough.
Do you remember? I mean, when
Freshman in high school, my
people
God.
lost their mind when Tim Tebow tried to come back to play tight end for Urban Meyer and the Jacksonville Jaguars. People said he's been out of the league for so long. This is horrible. But some people want Colin Kaepernick to come back to be a third-string quarterback or a practice squad guy. I don't know. But no, not news for me, as far as that's concerned. All right, continuing on, news, not news. Jim Harbaugh was announced that he would be Michigan's, honorary captain for their home opener, for their season opener. That is no longer the case. Jim Harbaugh will no longer, according to their head coach, he will no longer serve as an honorary captain for Michigan's season opener. News or not news?
Not news, but I think it's funny. They tried to flip the middle finger to the NCAA, and then someone with a brain was like, hey, maybe when we're under investigation and maybe vacating wins, we shouldn't do that.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's news, but I definitely think it's funny.
I agree with Jacob 100%. Not news. Not news on that one.
I mean, it's funny. It's very funny. Does that make it not news? I'll just say it's not news just because that's what the consensus is.
That's definitely what happened, though, right?
Yeah, it is. They got a little slap on the wrist saying, like, no, you probably shouldn't
You're
do
not
that.
going to do that, yeah.
You're not going to do that.
Yeah, that's kind of where my thought process was too. For one, I thought it was news that they were actually going to do that, have him go there, because it was they've continued to mock the NCAA. They have continued to mock anyone that has criticized them for cheating to win a national championship, which they did.
Allegedly.
But I do like, no, I'm not even going to go allegedly with this. I don't even care. It's no allegedly.
I don't think it is alleged anymore.
Like, yeah. Like, but regardless, the fact, I do think something happened behind this. I think that right now Michigan is realizing, okay, with the show cause penalty that was handed down to Harbaugh if he ever comes back to coaching in college, which he won't. I think Michigan has sat back and saw how severe the NCAA came down with that first punishment. That was just for Cheeseburger Gate. That had nothing to do with this. I think they're realizing that maybe all the mocking and victim blaming, all this stuff, and doing all this stuff over the years, trying to make the NCAA look bad. I think they're realizing the NCAA is not going to play nice when it comes to Michigan. Maybe we should dial it back. I still thought it was wild that they announced that he was going to be the honorary captain to begin with. It doesn't surprise me that they have kind of reverted back and said, never mind, probably not a good idea. Probably not a good idea to keep poking at the NCAA. And for everyone out there that says they won't come down with any significant punishment, I highly disagree. And I think that they are afraid of that, which is why they finally pulled the trigger or reversed their take on this to begin with.
Yeah, really the only thing I would be surprised about with Michigan is if they have to give up a national championship. I think everything else is very much on the table.
Yeah, I don't think they're giving that back. And if they give it back, it doesn't do anything for me, you, or anybody. I don't really care about taking wins back. It is what it is. I just want them to acknowledge that they cheated. As simple as that. All right, last one. News or not news? I know you're a big UFC fan. Dana White says that UFC's Conor McGregor will not fight again in 2024. News or not news?
It's not news. Conor McGregor hasn't fought a meaningful fight in a long, long time. He's been a money grab for the UFC for quite some time now, and it's just a shame that Michael Chandler probably isn't going to fight this year either, because he's turned down a lot of different fights, a lot of big fights to fight Conor McGregor, and then now because McGregor refuses to go into a real training camp, refuses to focus on fighting, then he's not even going to get that chance. So, yeah, I don't think it's news, because if you've been following UFC, you kind of could have seen this coming. But it's definitely upsetting because it marks the end of a career of a guy that got a lot of people interested in the sport.
I'm going to say news because I haven't said anything of these are news yet. So I'm going to say this is news. I wish he would do it, just because he's the most electric guy, one of the most electric athletes in our lifetime. Nobody was better at the marketing yourself type of deal, and he took that job very seriously. He was very good at his job. There's so many viral clips of him. I don't follow UFC. I don't follow fighting. I don't follow boxing. I don't follow anything in that sort of realm. But I followed Conor McGregor. And when a guy like that's just not willing or not ready or not able to come back and fight again, I just think that's sad. I think it's probably time to call it quits. But unless Netflix comes a calling, he'll probably be out.
Roadhouse.
Yeah.
So Conor McGregor is an interesting cat, because I think that right now with Conor McGregor, his target demo is guys like me and Elliot who don't follow UFC religiously. Not you anymore. Like you, because you're so locked in on that sport, Jacob, that like you already have other stars that you really care about in that sport. I don't follow that sport hardly at all. So when I do, with the few names I do know, I'm going to gravitate towards. Conor McGregor is a name I'll gravitate towards if he's fighting. For me, who doesn't follow it religiously, I don't know the gap between where he's at now and the best talent is in UFC, but he's going to get me to watch. So for the casuals, I think he plays a major role in that as far as that's concerned. So I'll say it's news from that standpoint, but it not news from the standpoint of, did anyone expect it? Did anyone expect it? I guess was the
a date's been set for that fight, I think 4 times.
Yeah.
So at some point, it's, what are we even talking about anymore?
All right, and that was news or not news here on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Wrapping things up on the radio side. Any closing thoughts for the radio audience, folks?
Well, for the radio folks, thank you very much. Can we play the bunny video as our cherry on top?
I got it right here.
United Dairy Farmers, cherry on top. This is the coyote.
That was good.
Is there any audio to that?
That was harmonizing.
I'll just mute it because I don't know.
It's just little bunny foo-foo, dude.
With all due respect.
That's a bunny. That's a bunny rabbit.
I asked for a video of a coyote. Well, you asked.
That's
but
a
we asked
pup.
for a video of a coyote.
He
sent us a bunny rabbit.
That's a bunny rabbit. He's hopping.
It's cute.
It's very cute.
It's just not a coyote.
That's okay.
It's okay. We thank you, Trey.
Thank you very much.
So Trey just sent me all the videos of the bear. He just sent me all the videos of the Bears, so I just sent you the videos of the Bears. So we wrap it up on radio for our radio audience.
What did you learn today on radio?
What?
What did you learn?
What did I learn?
Yeah, what did you learn today?
I don't know. I don't know if I learned anything. Maybe it's a bad job on my part, but let me know when I do a good job, and that'll be a different day.
You did a good job.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Kind of.
Jacob, are you going to be more awake tomorrow? You a little tired, dude?
Yeah,
I
hopefully.
think you got too much sleep is what you tried saying.
I went to bed early last night because I was tired yesterday.
That is a thing.
And
I have been
now I'm
miserable
tired,
on days
so.
where I actually get.
I'm going to get limited sleep tonight because I'm going to do that tennis. So
Yeah.
I'm excited. Should be fun.
Any TikTok
Western
videos
Side-
you guys?
formerly Western
You guys recording any TikToks?
Give me
today?
my money.
Give me my money. That's so dumb.
Yeah, it's very dumb.
And you guys got cursed at.
Yeah, we did.
I got what?
You got cursed at. You got
We
yelled
did
at.
get cursed at.
Did we?
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you
In the
watch the
video?
whole?
I didn't see the end of the video.
I stopped. When
I
I say
could
I
not
can't
watch it.
I can't watch it because it's so cringy. People will do that. Like,
We
I
were
don't-
swindled into doing it.
Well, yeah.
You were swindled.
Yeah.
Poor Casey, my guy over here. Jeremiah's like, "Hey, let's do this TikTok," and then he checks his pockets.
Doesn't
and,
have his phone.
and he doesn't have his phone. So he's like, "All right, who's got a phone?"
So he uses Casey's phone to record the TikTok of us, and then he tried to take the phone out of Casey's hand.
So hold on. The soccer ball was flat. No video for the TikTok. Well, that's a rough day, dude. That's a rough day at the office.
Listen, he tried his best. He was a good goalie, though, for what it's worth.
Did
He
you
was.
guys- well, I mean, that's up for the people have to wait and see.
That's right.
No, you were. That's called a tease. That wraps it up on the radio side. Off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube. We're gonna take a look at the videos of the bear that Trey Wingo sent us. So you won't see that on radio, but go back and watch Off the Bench on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe and follow Chatterbox Sports there. That wraps it up. Have a good night. All right, we're back to close it out, at least on the YouTube side. So I didn't know about the bear thing that you talked to Trey about. So
Did you look at the initial tweet?
no, so it wasn't the tweet. It was just the.
Well, I know that, but have you looked back at? So if you look up Trey Wingo bear, it should be one of the first things that come up.
I type in bear, RFK keeps coming up.
Well, don't do that. Don't do that.
That's such a crazy
So I didn't know if there was an RFK joke in there.
Oh,
so I was waiting to see where that was going.
That's a fake picture.
That's a fake picture, and that's
That's a
what
fake. He tweeted a fake picture.
So
It has the tags on it and everything.
the caption is, "So a bear just walked up on my porch."
Sure did.
Literally. But the bears he did send, these things are freaking massive. This would, by the way, bears scared the living hell out of me. I don't know what your little
I
cutoff
feel like
is,
one
but
of the bears is okay though, right? Is the brown bear or the black bear that's okay?
One of them kills you.
Yeah, I think it's brown bear's bad.
in my mind, they all kill you. When we go to Tennessee and we go hiking, I'm just literally a nervous wreck the entire time. I have friends that go and they stay in cabins and stuff. They'll send videos of they'll just go take out the trash and there's a gigantic ass bear just waiting for them. I would absolutely piss myself. It would be absolutely terrifying. I would not do well in that situation. So we have one lined up.
We've got both of them lined up for you.
This says black bears are the least dangerous. Grizzly bears are the third most. Then polar bears second most dangerous, and something called a sloth bear is the most dangerous.
So a polar bear, I think I'm good.
That's what I would think too. It's from Nepal, India, and Sri Lanka.
Ooh, I vacation there all the time.
Yeah,
Is it because they're super territorial or something?
I don't know. It says they've killed hundreds of people over the past 20 years.
What
It
about
seems
the
like-
bear?
The bear?
Where does he rank on that?
The bear.
Bear.
He ranks first, actually. That's a good point. The bear.
I got the two videos here.
Here we go.
So this is on Trey Wingo's porch. See?
Oh my goodness.
That's awesome.
Like I said, that's terrifying. You walk out there and see that. What are you doing?
Going inside?
Thanks.
What
And
if
then the
he
next one?
decided to just come in the house. What if that bear just decided to break through that window?
I'm never going more than an arm's length away.
And then the next one.
Can't let you touch me.
This is the
Oh,
one.
look
This
at
thing's
this.
freaking massive. Is this a grizzly right here? I don't know what a grizzly versus
No, grizzly's brown, right? That's a black
what color
bear.
is that? I can't see from here.
It's a black bear.
That's still not okay. I mean, it's just.
Oh, look at him.
Can't let you get close.
Oh, I hope he rolls around.
By the way, I think he's much safer with those little bunny coyotes than what he is with these bears. Let's
I think
just be
so.
Clear. So, all right. I wrapped up everything I need to. You guys, any closing thoughts as we're done here?
We're good.
All right. Till tomorrow, this has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton.